Well, it looks like I found the poor man's version of WatchMojo, which is saying a lot, considering how bad WatchMojo can be. So this guy, or guys, called NextOfKen made a list of overrated movies that secretly suck. Now, I know this video is roughly 8 months old, but as far as I know, nobody has done a commentary on this video, and well, I wanted to tackle it. With that said, let's begin this commentary, and I have a new avatar I like to test out, which is what a majority of people picked on Twitter for me to use. I'm skipping the intro because it goes on for over 70 seconds. Most of it is nothing but clips from various movies. Dude, that's just padding the crap out of your video.
Number 10, The Blair Witch Project. Released in 1999, this mockumentary-style horror film basically created the found footage genre, which means you can blame this movie's producers for all the cheaply made bad horror movies you've been watching lately.
While I haven't seen The Blair Witch Project, I can say this. Yes, Blair Witch Project, you can argue, did create the found footage genre. However, you can't necessarily blame it for the boom that happened in the late 2000s to early 2010s. That would be like yelling at John Carpenter's Halloween because of all the poor slasher films that are created after it. Just because something created a genre, or put a genre in the mainstream, doesn't automatically mean it's at fault for all the crappy films in said genre that was made after that movie's release.
Quick, make me forget that shit! Right, never happened.
Number 9, Gravity. Yes, the CGI in this film is amazing, but that's it. Gravity has a poorly written, obvious script with underdeveloped characters and so much symbolism they should have called it Sandra Bullock's birth video to the sequel. It's a fucking movie about a woman's symbolic rebirth, except it's in space. Where was Jason when you need him to liven shit up?
I think now's the time to mention a big part with not just every entrant in this countdown, but also the video as a whole. That being, you never explain your points. You just say roughly 2 things and expect people to take what you claim at face value. As bad as WatchMojo can get, at least they give more than 2 reasons per entrant. Yes, this video is so bad, I'm defending the worst of a channel that farts out top 5 to 10 videos at least 5 times a day.
Number 8, The Dark Knight Rises. I'm gonna get hate for this, I know it, but The Dark Knight Rises is very overrated. Just breathe and say it with me. The Dark Knight Rises is overrated.
Because what I say is the law. But in all seriousness, while Dark Knight Rises does have its faults, don't go around expecting people to follow what you claim. Which is funny that in the comments you say you respect people's opinions, but the way you word how some of these movies are bad in your eyes come off as the exact opposite of being respectful towards different opinions.
The movie is riddled with plot inconsistencies. For instance, how the hell did Batman escape the bomb in under a second when it was supposedly large enough in scale to destroy all of Gotham? Also, how did Bruce manage to end up at the same cafe on the same day at the same time as Alfred? This movie was horribly disappointing and you fucking know it.
Like with my last point, nice to see someone is acting arrogantly about their opinions. Now let's talk about the examples he gave how The Dark Knight Rises is inconsistent. Regarding how did Batman escape the bat with a neutron bomb, well, in the aftermath it was revealed that Bruce Wayne was able to have the autopilot be operational, so one could make the argument that after the bat went through the building he activated the autopilot and got out. As for how he was there when Alfred was at the cafe, that actually ties to what Alfred said, as earlier in the movie, he told Bruce every year Bruce was gone prior to the events of Batman Begins, he visited a cafe in Florence, and he had a fantasy where he sees Bruce in that cafe with a possible wife and was happy. The film clearly told and showed you that, so how could you have possibly missed that? Look, that's not to say there were inconsistencies with The Dark Knight Rises, because I did notice a few. However, your examples were not very good, and it failed to convince me that this movie is overrated.
Quick, make me forget that shit! Right, never happened.
This movie is about as interesting and special as a wet carrot. The only good thing about it was that it fucking ended. The plot was preposterous and cliche-ridden.
Okay, so Slumdog Millionaire has a ridiculous and cliched plot. Care to give any examples to support this? What's that? You won't? Well, screw you too.
Quick, make me forget that shit! Right, never happened.
Number 6, Crash.
Stop fucking pig!
Just stop talking! It's quite a mouth you have. Of course you know that.
Fuck you. That's what this is all about, isn't it? You thought you saw a white woman blowing a black man that just drove you little cracker-ass crazy.
Will you just shut your fucking mouth?
Yet another movie that for some reason won Best Picture at the Academy Awards, which goes to show you that the Academy Awards are run by a bunch of monkeys with hand grenades. Crash is a modern-esque film depicting the very racist world we still live in. You fucks, read the news. We already know the world still sucks. We don't need this BS film with Brendan Fraser to tell us that. There was nothing remarkable about this film, but if it had a dick, everyone would suck it.
Let's ignore that Crash won Best Picture for a second. It hasn't gotten the biggest of critical acclaim like you claim it has. Now let's include its Best Picture win. Some even call its win at the Oscars as one of the worst Best Picture winners. So really in that regard, I don't think it's as loved as you make it out to be. This will actually play into a major problem with this list I will discuss later when he has a very juicy entrant on there. Oh, and just because racism exists in the real world doesn't mean a movie shouldn't explore serious or touchy topics like racism. Even you should know that, right?
Number 5, Forrest Gump. Life is like a box of chocolates. Well, if you've seen it, this movie's more like a box of dicks and you just got fucked by every one of them. As much as I like Tom Hanks, I have to disagree with everyone in the world about this movie. The film is flat, dull, and melodramatic, and Tom Hanks' performance was awkward, cheesy, and grumpy like the title suggests. Get over it, it's a bad movie, okay?
I have seen Forrest Gump 13 years ago, ignoring that you claim it has melodrama since it is a dramedy, so in a way, what are you expecting? Never mind the fact that, and someone can correct me on this, the story is more of an inspirational one since we see Forrest Gump's life and who he affected through his actions. A lot of what you said doesn't really reflect Tom Hanks' character, as sure, there are times where he's angry, which happens to the best of us, but through his performance we see that he's good-natured and kind-hearted. I don't have a problem with you not liking the film or Tom Hanks' performance, but I'm getting really annoyed with how vaguely you worded everything.
Number 4, Napoleon Dynamite. What in the actual fuck is with this movie? Everyone loved it, and I have no idea why. Napoleon Dynamite lacked any coherent plot and was led by the creepiest actor I've ever seen since I watched that pirate porno. You know which one I'm talking about. I mean, look at him. The obscene humor and oddball jokes, the hairstyle, the self-proclamation of being an artist when his art clearly sucks, wearing snow boots in the spring. This bitch is the reason why hipsters were invented. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
Before I get into the big problem with what you said, I want to say Napoleon Dynamite isn't even critically acclaimed by critics and moviegoers, which, trust me, very soon is about to get worse. From what I've seen, most of them say it's at best decent. A lot of your complaints on this film seems to be missing the point entirely. The whole thing with Napoleon Dynamite is that he's an awkward teen, so that would explain the oddball humor. In addition, there is no coherent plot. Most of the movie is centered around Napoleon trying to have his friend Pedro become class president against the popular kid. Sure, there is hijinks with his family, such as his Uncle Rico giving his friend Deborah a breast enhancement product, claiming it was Napoleon's suggestion, thus their friendship was broken. That said, the main focus was on Pedro trying to become class president. As for his art being horrible, granted it's been a very long time since I've seen Napoleon Dynamite, so someone can correct me on this, but I recall it being a joke where it's meant to look bad on purpose. Next time you try to say how a movie is overrated or terrible, try and think out your points out more, thank you very much.
I'm coming.
Bella, I don't want you to come.
Number 3, Twilight.
Twilight? Really? I know in the comments of this video you said people who are fans of the book liked the movie as well, but that is a really poor justification since none of the Twilight movies were liked by critics and they are the butt of a lot of jokes. Need we forget riff tracks having a field day with them? This actually brings up another serious problem with your list. What do you define as an overrated film? Because you didn't set any guidelines, so it's like anything is free game. Some of the movies you listed like Crash and Napoleon Dynamite didn't have the highest of critical praise, whether it was at the time it was released or even today. It just comes off as you randomly placing these films on the list.
Where do I even fucking begin? Basically, if you're unfamiliar, it stars Kristen Stewart, who falls in love with a vampire despite the fact that Shovelface said he's killed people and would happily do it again. She's like, oh, I trust you. You won't hurt me. Bitch, I'd kill you for a Diet Coke. This movie features some of the best cardboard acting I've ever seen and the most pedestrian plot ever written, and yet it has made over $1 billion. Think about that, $1 billion. I hope you bitches are happy about this. Stop making stupid people rich.
It made $1 billion? Citation needed. Because I looked up the box office numbers, and sure, all the Twilight films combined made over $3 billion, but you only put the first film on the list. And domestically, it made roughly $192 million, and worldwide, it made just under $394 million. So where did the other $604 million go? Oh, and in the comments where you say you were referring to the franchise as a whole, never mind that I've proven your math is wrong, you specifically said the first Twilight film, not the franchise as a whole, so you're at fault for poorly wording yourself there. In addition to my last point, I'm sorry, but how much profit a movie makes is a horrible reason to put a movie on an overrated films list, especially this high, because not only are every movie there to make money, but also how much money a movie makes doesn't automatically make it a good quality film.
Quick, make me forget that shit. Right, never happened.
Oh my.
You should see your faces.
Number 1, Avatar.
Because we can't secure an overrated films list without talking about a film that has been talked about to death in this topic. How unoriginal can someone get? I'm ending it here because he literally says nothing new when it comes to Avatar, especially when it comes to unoriginal plot, and then asks which movie does the audience think is overrated. I really don't think you missed much. So now it's time for me to give my final thoughts. The problem is not that he doesn't like any of these films. It's fine if he doesn't like them. The problem is it suffers from the curse of a good number of top 10 videos. Zero elaboration, weak arguments, and his attitude comes off as super pretentious, like, we get it, you don't like any of these movies. Don't go in wanting people to follow with whatever you say. Hey, remember when a few years ago on my main channel, I commented on Next of Ken's list of overrated movies that secretly suck? Well, he just made an update video that appears to be the last video he'll make on there. And let me just say, very rarely do I see an update video where roughly the first 2 minutes had so much wrong in it. Plus, I won't commentate on the entire video because outside of these 2 points, there really isn't much else to say.
Some of you know already that YouTube has decided to demonetize our channel, which probably doesn't surprise a lot of you guys, but it was a little bit of a surprise to us just because, you know, for the longest time we thought that our videos qualified for fair use. We did believe that our work was transformative.
Apparently you don't know what fair use is, because with regards to your countdowns, since the video I commentated on, they don't fall under fair use. You want to know why? Well, let me play a single entrant from his most recent countdown of the times Timmy Turner's dad was basically you.
Could be worse. I could be dangling above a boiling pot of weenies.
Now tell me, how did this have any form of commentary, critique, news reporting, or hell, even parody? If you answered it had none of the above, then congratulations, you see what the problem is here. I've seen other countdowns you've done, and it's the exact same thing as the example I just showed. You just play the clips and call it a day without explaining why they are on the list. So you later on in the update video saying that they weren't just compilations and had substance to them, being brutally honest, is a crock of shit, because that's all they really are. So in that instance, I can't fault YouTube for this because you weren't using the footage for fair use purposes.
We have been in contact with them for the past couple weeks, but so far we've really only just been getting like, you know, whatever answers from them, just canned responses from them. Unfortunately, they don't seem too concerned about small channels these days. They are going to probably be paying more attention to larger channels.
Yes, they aren't concerned about smaller channels like yours with your near 210,000 subscribers. You know, it'd be easy to just say, get the fuck out of here with that, say it's really pathetic, and call it a night. But here's the thing. Yes, you technically are not wrong here, but the issue I have with it is the way you're going about it just sounds like they don't care because you're not making money off of your content. And I understand online videos is a job for some people, so I'm not faulting that. What I am faulting though is this comes off as you not understanding why this happened. Assuming YouTube is selective and biased about what happens to the videos on the website, the issue with your content is, again, they don't fall under fair use, as I just stated. The best way to sum up nearly every countdown I've seen of yours in the past 2 to 3 years is just, here's some clips, thanks for watching, and subscribe, smiley face. If you're going to make countdowns in the future on your other channel, actually take the time to explain why they are on the list, and not just show footage and call it a day. Otherwise, to quote, and I hope I pronounced his name correctly, Jora Satayana, Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it.